place where your grandkids could go and say, this is where dad lies, this is where mom is, and pray and get the blessings from the Spirit. That is why people fight and die for a land, because there is more to it. There is more to it. So my fellow Ambazonians, before I move specifically into Ndian, I just always need to remind us of the reasons why we are engaged in this war for our own survival. And for us to know that it is very important we sacrifice to get the outcome we want. It is easy to complain. Wars are messy endeavors. Even the most trained armies, established states that have fought numerous wars, they have budgets. They find it difficult. If you ask the American war planners of the invasion of Afghanistan or Iraq, they'll say it didn't go as planned. The budgeting far exceeded expectations. And so, the Ambazonian War of Independence is not going to be like Namundo Ondola Cristo or Hallelujah Choir singing. No, it's messy. And we have to sustain the funding. We have to sustain the funding. I was doing some research before this outing. And when I always tell you, be the primary investor, so you be the primary owners of the outcome. And people always say, oh yeah, you should do Russia, you should go here. Definitely. I was doing some research on the oil wells in Ndian, and realizing one of the contracts La République had with a foreign exploratory and exploitative company. The company was having 80% of the profit after expenditure. Yeah, 80% of the profit after expenditure. So if you do not make the requisite investment, some other person is going to own the land. And once they do that, they'll determine the kinds of laws you make. They'll determine the kinds of government you put in place. They'll determine the kinds of environmental protection laws that you are going to enact. And you will be wondering why, after this toil and suffering, you may have some sort of freedom, political, but there is still no economic opportunities. That is why the liberation tax was enacted. Everything we do at this stage of our struggle, the Ambazonian Governing Council does, is based on the kinds of procedures and practices we would like. Let me rephrase it. Whatever we do now, the standards we put in place now should be the kinds of standards and practices that we expect to have in Ambazonia. So, for example, if we enact a liberation tax law, what we are saying is the procedure we use in the debate on the drafts, the amendments that are made, the participatory approach in the enactment process, the different instances within the Ambazonian Governing Council that looked into that draft, the amendments, and then vote on it, becomes imbued in our psyche in the way that we can do things that are owned by the people. And once, as president, for the moment, I sign it into law and ask the Communication Council and the Communication Department to propagate to explain and to educate. We are following standard practices and procedures that are important in every free society. And once it goes to ADLA, the War Council, for enforcement, they work with the Finance Department for management and accountability. These are the kinds of practices we want in a free Ambazonia. But this is the most important one. The accountability, the nexus between the taxpayer and the law provider is defined by the notion of management and accountability, sustained by the notion of reciprocity. So if somebody pays the tax and then sees that is reciprocated in development, it feels good, right? Don't undermine all of these things. You may just look at it as it's not important, but if you miss this stage, and then this is how you establish an autocratic political system that undermines the very freedoms that you're fighting and dying for. So in a nutshell, we must be the people who provide, the environment within which our people can partake in their own struggle. And if we pay our taxes, and I thank the Chief of Staff of the State Department, Comrade Owane. Before I came in here, he had just paid for the mother back at home and for himself. So you see how from conceiving an idea, putting a draft by the Legal and Justice Department, circulating the draft to the missions for discussions and debate, bringing it together for a joint conference discussions on the law, voting in the National Council, signing into law by the President, circulating, causing enforcement, management and accountability, and then you start seeing the result in terms of payment. You should take pride in that and take comfort in the fact that what I'm seeing looks exactly like what I'm dreaming I really want to live in. And for that alone should motivate you to pay your tax. I'm grateful to each and every one of us that has paid. As I said today, just 1,000 Ambazonians, 1,000 here in the diaspora, paying their tax will give us the opportunity to defend Bui State permanently. 1,000 of you paying your tax of $100 each will give us an opportunity to be able to defend Bui State. Remember, block by block. If you look at the big picture, it sounds scary. All right? No, take it block by block. The next 1,000, and you are able to deal with Meme. The next 1,000, you are looking at Coupe, right? The next 1,000, you can turn Bamenda into a cooking pot for the enemy. We have not even touched the one from ground zero. Investment in education. That's reciprocity, right? Investment in public health services. A healthy people creates a healthy economy and a productive population. Creates more wealth, more investment, more employment, more opportunities, and creates a happy society. That's why we fight. All right, all right. Okay, my people. Now, the state of Ndian is a mess. For all of you who come from Ndian, you know it's a mess. And I would need to do referencing. because this is very important. A moment, good people. Let's have our time. Let's have our time. And if there are questions, you put on the timeline, and I'll pick it up. You saw what I wrote today. That the distance from and this is courtesy from my top advisor, the DDC. So each time I talk, I don't only talk about things that I have researched. The advisors give me they do a lot of work to help me deliver to you some factual information. And I thank the DDC and all those, the PR and all those in the different executives who have been very helpful. That these are the people who want to reconstruct Ambazonia. Jesus. So most of you haven't been to London, but if you live in London to go to Birmingham, I think the DDC was even putting it too much, by what they call the National Express, because I live in Birmingham. When I was repeating my bachelor after 13 years of having been dismissed from Boya, sometimes I live in Birmingham and I had to go down to London with the National Express. Sometimes 2 hours. And the distance 130 kilometers. And that 2 hours because of traffic. So if you go with a private car, it might even be shorter. How long do you cover that kind of distance? Where did the DDC cite that? Ambazonia has suffered. Traveling from Kumba in Meme to Mundemba in Ndian is 113 kilometers. Yeah, 113. You take 24 hours if you are lucky. Meme and Ndian are 2 of the richest states in Ambazonia. I think it's the DDC who cited this data also. 70% of the cocoa exported by Cameroon comes from Meme. Ndian is so rich that only the oil deposit in one block, selling a barrel of oil at $100, the amount of money we will get, you can share that money to 8 million Ambazonians. Each Ambazonian will have $2,500. One block. In Bakassi, a simple block has 250 million barrels of proven reserves of crude oil. Take a pen and a piece of paper. Note the next one. 208 billion. Did you hear that? 208 billion cubic yards of natural gas in Bakassi. According to Per-Toa Resources, an estimated 1.2 billion barrels of oil are still available in the Rio de Rey. That's how stupidly rich Ndian is, and stupidly rich Ambazonia is. That is just a small part of it. Clean drinking water you don't have in Ndian. Sometimes people prefer to carry their sick into Biafra land for treatment than taking the torturous 24-hour journey maybe into Meme. That is how abused we have been under Cameroon. Wickedness in broad daylight. I'm not done yet. If you look at the data, it's frightening. You remember when I started, I was asking the question, what is it that these people insist on having us as a colony? Why do they insist having us as a colony? Don't forget, Cameroon describes us as le Biafran, les ennemis dans la maison. All derogatory words have been attached to Ambazonians. If we are so useless, why spend 7 years in a war of attrition against a useless set of people? Our educational system you don't like, you don't even want. Our legal system you don't like, you don't want. Our culture you don't want, you don't like. What is it that you are looking for in Ambazonia? You now get the secret. Our land holds massive resources, reserves in resources. And they are in to rape us from these resources. I need to provide more data. This is very important. This is what the DDC looked into. The oil companies drilling in Ndian all have their headquarters in Douala. When you look at the data, or the data that is produced by either research organizations or contracts and stuff, you always see the Cameroon SNH building in all of those documents. All the drilling companies have their headquarters in Douala. Why? Why do you drill in Ambazonia, in the state of Ndian, and then you have all the companies that engage in drilling are in another state across the border in the littoral? And if it goes on, and no child of Ndian is employed in any of the oil companies. So if you are from Ndian, if you come from Ndian and you live in that neighborhood and you don't have roads, and every day there is environmental hazards caused by drilling companies, you are at the other end receiving the shit, right? No opportunities. What is it that could get into your mind to think that being a slave under Cameroon is better than being a semi-autonomous state within Ambazonia, with your own state parliament being able to enact laws to protect the land and the resources therefrom, and to ensure that the taxes paid by all of those companies that are doing drilling in Ndian are paid in your own state, and that your law will compel these companies to create institutions of technology to train denizens from Ndian to be able to acquire the skills necessary to work in those companies, create wealth and opportunities for the other citizens of Ndian. That your own state parliament will be able to enact environmental protection laws that would ensure that those companies are held accountable for any environmental hazards that may imperil your health, both in the short term and in the long term. That is the beauty of what Ambazonia offers. This is a promise that we make, because it is a promise not only because it is going to be beneficial for the people of Ndian, because it is going to be beneficial for the people of Ambazonia. A kind of political arrangement that ensures that economic opportunities are distributed in a way that the production area has high benefits as an incentive to make other areas to work harder. Because Ambazonia is ours, a government of Ambazonia would see that there is no need to discriminate against another part of our country. Because Ndian is not theirs. They don't have any incentive to reinvest the wealth that they create through drilling into Ndian. They don't. For them, it's a wasteland. For them, the inhabitants of Ndian, they are of no use. They are of no production abilities. They bring in their workers. Those drilling sites like in Bakassi that are onshore, those that are offshore, you don't even know about their existence. My people, when we talk about our struggle for freedom, it is not simply to have a different political system. It is to create an opportunity for the individual Ambazonian in the area of health, education, creativity, and public safety. This is why we fight. It's not because we hate Cameroon. It's not because we are some gun-tottering lunatics who simply just want to shoot each other. You know our journey from 1961. Our forefathers tried with coexistence with the respect of each other's borders could do both sides good. No, they insisted it must be a central system managed by them, and that they must dismantle all of our own institutions and replace it by theirs, or nothing. Zero-sum game approach. For those who spoke, you end up in jail or in the grave. We have a denizen of Ndian. He's here in Norway. Was a journalist who was reporting about the environmental hazard being caused by these companies. Was picked up and detained, brutalized. He ended up in exile, like most of us. You speak, you die, you go to jail, you go into exile. You don't speak, you die, you go to jail, or you go into exile. So what would you rather do? Shut up and die, or go into exile or jail? Speak out. In Bafaka Balwe, a village in Ndian, where there is a huge deposit of gold. Cameroon has been mining this for decades. The denizens of Ndian cannot even go into that place. Taken over by La Republique military. Deposit of gold. The community has no roads connecting surrounding villages, no schools, They dare not get a school, because in books lies the truth. They keep you sick. You're sick enough, you're concerned about surviving than fighting them. All what is happening to you is not by accident. It's by design. The misery you are going through is not by accident. For the 1% that are successfully escaped, you think you are living. You are not. You have a rendezvous with destiny if we don't hurry up. When I spoke about FACO, I talked about tourism. I talked about islands in Cyprus, in Greece, in Spain, in the Caribbean that earn a lot through tourism. Countries where 40% of their budget is from tourism. Not Cameroon, where 45% of its budget is used in servicing interest in loans. A state that is in bankrupt and in decline. Most of you know about the corrupt forest reserve in Ndian. It holds some of the most important plant species, some that are extinct in other places. What happened? Like CDC, it was privatized. You know the story of the Heracles, the American company. These places are not only places that keep our most precious natural resources. They are also important for our health. When you see a massive piece of land with forests, it contributes a lot in environmental protection. For all of you who've done a bit of biology, the story of photosynthesis, chlorophyll, the combination between carbon dioxide and water to produce glucose, osmosis, all of these processes in plant releases oxygen, which we take in, expel carbon dioxide, which through the process of photosynthesis, the plant combine with water to produce the sugar that is saps down from the leaves downward. So these forests, the trees, the biodiversity is not only important for research, it's also important for environmental protection. It holds different species of animals, important for the creation of wealth through research, through tourism, and even through research, and the creation of more knowledge through research. So my people, we have it in Ndian. If you are from Ndian, tell me exactly what you benefit from it. It is also a place where your forebears taught you how to do hunting, other elephants or other animal species. You know how much money European states make to go to a simple zoo here in Norway cost a lot of money. Do they have lions in Norway? They don't. They've taken it from our own places, making a lot of money. For us who have it naturally in preserve, it's useless, because the reserves are privatized properties now of foreign companies for whom interest is the only thing that is important for them. Ndian has the potential of having one of the biggest fish market. I was looking into the research, just the stretch of water. It's massive. The coastline is massive. Even the coastline alone. When we talked about FACO, we talk about recreation, holidays, turning those natural coastlines into little places for holiday makers, turning little islands into El Dorados for foreign visitors, and training the denizens of Ndian to become tour guides, to make a living from their natural resources without destroying, just showing them and letting others to enjoy them. And in the fish industry, you and myself, we have suffered, my people. We have suffered. Remember when they were intoxicated to be singing Vasco da Gama discovered the sea road to India. Christopher Columbus discovered what? America. We were doing fishing in, was it fishing in Norway or Newfoundland? Forestry in Norway. These Nyamfukas could not teach us fishing in Ndian. The curriculum of education was designed to make you look beyond your own borders. The curriculum of education was designed to make you feel like you have nothing. You have to fly into Europe or the United States before you start studying your own history. The amount of knowledge I have gathered yesterday about the BLM from my chief of staff. I was born in Ambazonia, I knew nothing. I knew nothing. Zero. How much in terms of intellectual ability has this struggle offered you? A lot. Just to know thyself. Without this struggle, I would have never known GDC Horace. I would have never known all this knowledge that I'm giving to you today. I would have never known that the name Lebialem comes from a twin waterfall. I would have never known that the name Fortebong, which sounds like Fortebong in Mancon, a bad chief. Jesus, just the beauty of knowing my country. The only thing we knew about Batibo was to provoke them on how they speak. The only thing we knew about Pinyin was to talk about them in a derogatory way. The only thing we could talk about each other was construct offered to us by force by the enemy. Now if you talk about Pinyin, you talk about resistance. You talk about Batibo, you talk about resistance. The man contrived from Alabukam did not want to tell you he comes from Alabukam. Alabukam, country of the crab. Do you want to come from that kind of a place? But now everybody hits their chest. I come from Alabukam because that's where resistance takes place. They make you to hate your own. Oh, I'm from Douala, you know. I'm just coming from Yaoundé. You come and impress people with zero nonsense. It's like all of this nonsense we are talking. I come from London, you know, I'm coming from Washington. What the hell is Washington? What the hell is Washington? What the hell is London? Surely you are hiding in some suburbs there with mental torture. You use it to intoxicate Ambazonians. Hi! Quick for land, Vonemon. Ambazonia. Look, we are empty. Empty. The only thing we have is Ambazonia. Me, I've made up my mind. If I die today, my family knows. Whether you cremate my body, tie it inside some bundle, if we are free, you take it, you go and bury it in the cemetery of the brave. If we are never free, throw it in the ocean and live for nothing. Maybe the children will grow up, listen to this video. They will know that stood for something. They will be proud to say that's my father. Not some cheap rats in La République, money doublers, scavengers, thieves that we worship today, scammers that we are hailing them. And then you want to kill General Efan. You kill General Ivo. You know, you want to butcher the Sagat, the vultures, the capos. You call them Amber Boys. You watch US movies, war movies, they are heroes. You see how the Americans romanticize their own fighters, whether they bomb Iraq to the ground or they massacre people in Afghanistan. They are coming home to great reception. You are tarnishing the image of your own warriors. You are attacking them for the interests of the occupier. On the last day when Amba go come, oh, whether you be Chiroma, you must go. On the last day when Amba go come, oh, whether you be enabler, you must bow. They will bow to the indomitable, unquenchable, no blinking generation. Yes. Shoot the hell you want. Do what you want. You will leave our country. We will make Ndian an El Dorado. And his finest son, DDC Horace, and his people will define the laws that govern Ndian and will be able to use its resources for the interests of its people, for humanity, not loot, store in private bank accounts, and reciprocate with torture, torment, environmental degradation, and abuse. The people of Ndian will be able to have flyovers. Why not heliports, airports, where they hop from one place to the other like taxis? Because they are rich, they can afford it. But to get there, pay your liberation tax. And we will show the enemy the exit door. We will show the enemy the exit door. You can trust every word I utter. Because if experience is anything to go by, we've done better. Speaking for 1 hour. All right. My people. Tomorrow, what am I taking? I don't know if I may skip tomorrow. Is broadcast for Country Sunday. So I'll see you on Tuesday. I will definitely take Lebialem on Tuesday. And then after that, I am heading to Bui, where the graveyard of the enemy is quite big. Everyone on my timeline, please go on and pay your liberation tax. All of you on ground zero, for our ladies, it's 5,000 amber. You can pay through the forces in your area in exchange for a receipt, or you will be provided an avenue to pay, but keep your receipt and keep the number for posterity. God bless Ambazonia. Good night if it is nighttime your way. Good morning to those who are waking up. Good afternoon to all those who love the sun. God bless our homeland.
Ambazonian brothers and sisters back home fighting for freedom. And there's not much I can do, but this I do to shine a light to the injustice to my people. And back to your question, I feel really great right now. He was a really tough guy. The more aggressive he got, the more he pumped me up to stick in there and keep fighting.
Your opponent was extremely aggressive. What did that do to you mentally? And were you surprised by his power?
Oh, no, I wasn't surprised at all. I was ready for it. But everything he did in there just turned me up more.
So what's next for Ndian? Now we're 1-0 in the professional career.
Next, I'm ready for anybody. Anybody, cruiserweight, heavyweight, light heavyweight. I'm ready for you, baby. Lion fight. Let's do it.
Ndian is ready.
Things to do, you said nothing west. Man will not get caught, nothing no safe like a tit. Man will not get caught, nothing no safe like a tit. Yes, Southern Cameroon, young ladies are crying. We want a change, we want a change. Southern Cameroon, young ladies are crying. We want a change, we want a change.
Freedom fighters, freedom fighters, freedom. We don't live free.
You declaim death, people now they wish you dead. Up for all the things to do, you said nothing west. Man will not get caught, nothing no safe like a tit. Man will not get caught, nothing no safe like a tit. Yes, Southern Cameroon, young ladies are crying. We want a change, we want a change. Southern Cameroon, young ladies are crying. We want a change, we want a change.
Freedom fighters, freedom fighters.
Follow Ambazonians. In the pursuit of freedom, we must remember that it comes at a cost. War tax is not merely a burden, it is an investment in the preservation of our values and the safeguarding of our way of life. Our people have suffered and continue to suffer and die in the hands of state-sponsored terrorists and neo-colonialism agents. We have to stop them by paying our taxes. Let us stand united in our support for our foot soldiers, recognizing that freedom is a priceless treasure worth every sacrifice. Thank you for your unwavering patriotism and for contributing towards the noble cause of safeguarding our freedom. This is coming to you courtesy of Orion Editech Ambazonia, the online learning platform of the Ambazonia Education Board. Pay your liberation tax through HTS Wallet Lab Africa.
the Ambazonia, pledge our loyalty. Praise to our Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero who brought the land together. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with the glory. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall hear it in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Welcome to ACN.